Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mike Phillips. This is the Leadership Toolkit, as you know, the definitive leadership training podcast. I bring different guests on each week so that they can share their wins, maybe some of their losses and failures, so that you're able to learn, you're able to grow yourself. Obviously, we are all able to grow and move forward when we talk about when we're mirroring people and we see what it takes to win. At the same time, one of the best ways to learn is to not repeat other people's failures. And so we have those discussions too. I've got an outstanding show lined up for you tonight. Two of absolutely my best friends, so it's going to be awesome. Today on the show, I bring to you two great friends, both Mike Ashie and Matt Koenig. So, I got to figure out how to turn the stuff off of the top. So I got Mike and Matt, and if I move to the brand or the banners, and there we go. And then I got some names on the on the screen there. So hey, Mike and Matt, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me today, guys.
Hey, bro. Good to be with you.
Mike's muted. See, that's why I never mute anybody, because then
I was working behind the scenes and I didn't want to get
Absolutely. Well, I'm just going to go around the circle the way you guys are on my screen, and if you would take a minute. And here's what's going to be awesome, because both of you guys are involved in the tech space and the AI space, and so I figured we could have a conversation once we get rolling today, a little bit about the effects of AI on business, on leadership, and each of the spaces that you guys are in. And to start off, I'm going to start top left here. If we could start with Mike Ashie, share with our audience who you are, what you do, and a little bit about your leadership experience, maybe 2-3 minutes, and then we'll go to Matt.
2-3 minutes is a long time for me. I have a YouTube channel, Leadership with Mike, which I started a few years ago, and we've recently grown past 41,000 subscribers. That put me in a space where I was able to get the attention of a startup called OneClick, which helps creators use AI to be better, well-rounded creators. I have quickly moved up the ranks and recently became the CSO, the Chief Strategic Officer for the team. And thrilled to be here, thrilled to talk leadership and AI, because this stuff's been blowing my mind recently.
Absolutely. I think it's blowing everybody's mind. And now I'm just going to jump right over here to Matt. If you would share a little bit about yourself, your leadership experience, and what you do.
Thanks, Mike. Hey, especially for our automotive friends, but they may already know me. But my name's Matt Koenig, and I'm the founder of Rockstar Designs. And I've actually been in leadership now for 23 years, and in the technology space for a good portion of that as well. And we have a company that provides digital services, lead management services that are powered by actual artificial intelligence. And our focus is on automotive dealers and power sports dealers. So I'm excited to have this conversation too, because I think people read about AI, but there's a lot that they don't know that they don't know. And so I think this will be a really cool conversation to help people learn how to dip their feet into the water and help most people realize that they're already wading in the shallow waters of AI anyway. So this will be fun.
I think it's going to be absolutely awesome. So thank you guys for jumping in to join me. And I'm going to give a shout out to both you guys just real quick right now, kind of in the order that we did. Couple of things. One, if you're tuned into the show and watching us today or listening, keep in mind that the Leadership Toolkit, this podcast is live on every platform out there, YouTube, and certainly then distributed on all the podcast platforms. So I would encourage you to tune in and share this episode, because it could be a really great conversation. Also, both of these guys, Matt and Mike, have given me some information here. So if you are in a space that you want to check out Matt's automotive AI, I say automotive AI, but you can get a 30-day free trial at rockstarinfo.com. And then also, Mike mentioned on his as well, you get a 7-day free trial. And is that 50% off the subscription price, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. To check out OneClick.io, and then it's $FPR equals Mike 41. And if you don't remember that, you can message him, DM him later, and we'll pitch that throughout the show. I'll make sure and share those in the show links, the show notes as well. So as we start off here, I'm gonna Matt, let me start with you because you've been
Yeah.
deep in this AI space for the last couple of years. You've developed a CRM. I've engaged with that to which is a customer relationship management or contact relationship management tool to start AI conversations. And let me just ask you, and this is a very broad question to start the conversation, is where do you see AI going from here? Just a blanket statement, sort of, where do you see AI going from where we are now? Because it's gone night and day from where we started just a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah. So I think what I'm about to say is going to be very, very unpopular. And as you know, I don't care. I mean, like, because I think honesty is the best policy, right? But
Mm-hmm.
when we got in this game and we started going heavy into AI, we started digging in deep just about a year ago. My number one thing is this, and I heard a really, really great quote. Someone said, they said, fast human is best. Fast robot is second best. Slow human is third best. But for God's sake, do something, right? That kind of is the mindset. My goal in the past, because I'm a sales trainer by trade as well, I do training with about 50 automotive dealerships every single month. I do in-store trainings in Canada and the United States. So I really like helping people get better. But I've come to realize that there are just certain things that people aren't willing to do anymore. And there are certain things that people aren't doing well. And no matter how much training or time is invested, the amount of people that will do these things well is dwindling. So where do I see AI going? I think here's the thing. We focus a lot with automotive dealers and power sports dealers. If you're a smart dealership, let me ask you a question and have the testicular fortitude to answer this honestly. Are your people consistently handling inbound emails, text messages, and DMs the way that you want them to? Are they saying the things that you know work? Are they listening with the intent to understand? And are they asking for the appointment appropriately over and over with the customer? And most dealers that I talk to would say no. As a matter of fact, one of the biggest things dealers ask me to train on over and over again is, how do I get my people to handle these online leads better? Because they're just not doing it. In person, they're great. On the phone, they're great. But handling these leads, text, email, DM, they're struggling, no matter how well trained they are. So I think in the next few years, smart automotive dealers and smart businesses are going to utilize AI in the ways that it can really help their business move forward. So they're going to use it for answering frequently asked questions, because why do we need to spend money for somebody to answer questions that are on our website that are easy access, right? So AI to answer FAQs, AI to work to set appointments. And frankly, this will make a few receptionists angry, but there is no need to have Karen at the phone going, how can I direct your call? Absolutely no need whatsoever. AI can answer the phone and say, you've called the Leadership Toolkit. How can I direct your call? And it says, I need to talk to somebody in sales. Hey, no problem. I'll get somebody over there for you. Or even just even an IVR system could replace Karen tomorrow. And now I don't want to put every old lady out of business and not have her buy Christmas presents for her kids. But as we're looking at today's economy, the reality is, do you need to spend $30,000 to have someone sit there and eat donuts waiting for a call to come in and have them stamping stuff and licking envelopes all day long? Or can you take a $30 a day system like ours right now? We've got special stuff going on where we've got a 30 days free, and it's only $30 a day. It's under $1,000 a month. And it can answer your phone calls for you, route them where they need to go, respond to every lead you get. And I guarantee it'll set more appointments than your salespeople will. Why are we paying for insurance and all these supplemental things for humans when we don't need it, and the humans aren't doing what we're asking them to anyway? There's the unpopular thing that I'm going to say. In 5 years, a good majority of people will be replaceable, and they better get used to wearing their name on their shirt in another job, because there's not going to be room for them to come to a six-figure professional gig and do nothing. There's the fun way to start the show.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Well, but here's the thing. I think that's the key, is you can't have people showing up to do nothing.
Bingo.
And so you're setting up and you're talking, I think, in Matt's space, you're talking like brick and mortar, actual humans of, hey, they're doing this repetitive thing.
Yeah.
Let me go to Mike for just a minute, because you're in a little bit different space, right? You're in that heavily digital arena, at least for your software for one click, and I've used it. Like I've engaged with both of your guys' products, so I can confidently say what they do and how good they are. When it comes to that, for me, it's replacing the repetitive tasks that I have to do as a human in the digital space. And so let me pose the same question to you, Mike, is where do you see from that digital arena where things are headed with AI based on the engagement that you have with your software and other softwares that you've seen?
AI is taking over the creative space, meaning I, as a solo creator, and again, I'm going to kind of echo Matt's comments where I don't need to hire some people. I will never hire a blog writer. I will never need to hire a graphic designer. AI is going to be able to do all of that and do it better than 99% of the people out there that I would be able to hire. As a solo creator, it takes time to, as with any business, but it takes time to build the business, to have the funds. So for me to, as an early stage creator, go and try to be, I focus on YouTube videos, but then if I'm trying to focus on short form content, I need to get my email, my newsletter out. I need to populate my blog. I need to be active on LinkedIn. These are all things that me as a solo creator, I don't have the time for, but also as a new creator, more likely than not, I don't have the funds for. AI and the way that we are making our agents work is they are taking my content, rewriting it with my facts, my truths, not going like a chat GPT and kind of making stuff up. It's pulling from my data set, what I've shared, and it's rewriting it in my tone of voice, with my kind of way of delivering it, and really opening up the opportunity for small creators like myself, like for this podcast, to be able to amplify what is created. And I think one of the coolest things is I don't have to train a ghostwriter. I don't have to train employees to pick up on what my tone is or how I want things delivered. The AI that we're creating works to every day I work with it. It learns more about me. It knows my preferences. It knows what a good, solid hook is for me. It knows what kind of video titles I'm looking for. It can analyze my audience. I can take your audience, Mike, put in your YouTube channel, analyze what your audience is saying to you about your videos. And that might be a spot where I could say, okay, this is a topic that, the Leadership Toolkit hasn't covered, but I have time, availability to cover it. Let me make a video on that. So it really changes the creator landscape, especially for the smaller creators. If you're a creator that has a few million subscribers, yeah, sure, it's perhaps easier for you to have the team. But for smaller creators getting started, AI is changing everything for you.
So here's what I hear as a common theme from both guys, because we're different, little bit different verticals of business and so forth. Both of you have this common thread of like, hey, AI is taking over, so you got to get on board, right? And it can replace these repetitive human tasks. It can help maximize the stuff that you're doing to create content online, whether it's blog writing, thumbnail creation, and so on and so forth. So these are not vastly different areas of business, right? Because they're all business, but there's all of these pieces that AI is getting its fingers in. So with that said, where do humans and what is important for tomorrow's leaders to start acting on right now, knowing what the two of you just said?
Let me jump in here right now.
Yeah.
AI is not going to take your job. The person who knows how to use AI is coming from your job and the person sitting next to you and the one next to you. That's the thing. I've talked to many people. So we just actually closed a large investment round for our company, One Click. The number of people who had the opportunity to join, who had the funds, like the means to be in that early startup investment seed.
Sure.
The number of people that AI scares me, I'm not going to invest. I mean, I get it, but the people who have an understanding of where AI is going and the opportunity jumped in on it. AI is not going away. We've been using it forever. Not forever, ever, but we've been using it long enough. Similar to just your Walmart checkouts. That's AI. Now we're getting a smarter AI that's learning how to work with people and feel normal. But it's understanding what's the next AI that I'm going to use. Is it going to be Jasper AI to help me with my marketing content? Is it going to be Copy.ai? Like, there's so many AIs out there. You just have to be willing to learn which part of it is going to help you.
Okay. I think, and let me jump in on that too, because I think there's something bigger than that. I think it's bigger than what's the next AI, because I think that's what we're all thinking right now. It's like, what's the next AI tool I can grab that will help me do this thing faster and more efficiently? And that's a good thing, right?
Sure.
But I think what it really comes down to is this. If we're looking for what's the next AI thing, you can't see the forest for the trees. We're short-sighted when we do that. And let me explain what I mean. Our focus in business should always be, how do I make my business more efficient and more effective? That's it. How do you run your effing business? EFFING, right? More efficient and more effective. See, Mike, I didn't even swear because I'm
well done.
So good.
So the thing is if you're a good business owner, you're always looking for ways to make it more efficient and more effective. And so then you say, how do I do that? Well, you have to ask yourself very hard questions. Like, for example, where am I spending money that is not returning more than I'm spending, right? For example, in what we were just talking about earlier, in what our company does, I can literally save a dealership $100,000 a year with an investment of $10,000. I can 10x their money.
So your net $90,000 savings.
Bingo. And or more. That's just a minimum. Just in reduced salary, I can 10x their return. Now, when we talk about the additional appointments that they get and the additional sales and the better profit because the stage was set properly, we're talking about another $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 in gross. But the problem is right now, as everyone talks about AI, they see things in the news, right? China's using AI to make bombs. Sam Altman ousted from AI, then he came back. And why was it? Because of general intelligence, or it was the fear, right? General artificial intelligence, artificial general intelligence. People are worried the computer's going to think for itself. And Mike, you brought up something great. Walmart checkouts, right? So earlier this year, the big thing I kept telling people is most people keep using the word AI, but they're idiots. They're talking about automation. It's not AI. It's just automation, right? If this, if else, right? If else, if else, if else. And it feels sort of conversational, but it's not.
If
right?
then.
But artificial intelligence it's thinking, it's processing, it's using the data that, and it's having a real conversation. And so people have a fear that it's going to replace their job or them and their neighbor's job. And here's the truth. You wouldn't have that fear if you knew your value. If you're delivering value, you're not afraid of being replaced. But the truth is, and I can't speak for Canada other than being up there in Calgary, Alberta, 3 times last year, but I can say this in America with no reservation. We have turned this country into something that trains people how to be employees and hourly employees, the sit down, shut up and take orders kind of people, because big business said that's what we need to run our factories and make America profitable. The problem is it was a lie and it doesn't work, because what we've done is we've created a group of people that are no longer innovators, right? And you can get into the depths of it and Rockefeller and everything else. But what do people do in light of AI? You learn how to innovate, invest in yourself, and educate yourself. Find a way to bring value to the world and to your workplace. For many people, that's going to mean making a pivot to a different industry. Mike Phillips and I have been in the automotive industry for a number of years. It'll be 30 years for me this summer. And here's what I can tell you in 30 years. Most salespeople haven't changed, and I train them and I love them. And I have so many friends in this industry, but the manufacturers are trying to get rid of the dealership as the middleman. They're trying to turn dealers into service centers, and Tesla proved that it could work. And Walmart is trying to get rid of people. That's why you scan your own stuff to check out. And some stores that have self-checkouts are asking you to tip the self-checkout. I'm like, does that tip go off on my bill? Like, how does this work? So,
and who does it go to?
Smart business owners know that if you've got people, you got to love them and you got to take care of them. But it is not loving if your company's consistently losing money. You can't continue to support anyone. So a smart business owner has to be more effective and more efficient. And AI gives them, I don't care what business you're in, there is an AI service platform or tool out there that will help you do that. But it means making the hard decision of saying goodbye to some of the people that you just don't need to employ. And that it's heartbreaking. But I would actually set up.
I would push back on that a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
Of maybe the secretary answering the phones, maybe her job changes by bringing in, right? And the difficulty with employees or with the employee mindset is people want to say, this is my job description. This is what I was hired to do. I don't want to change. And when that happens, at some point you're out of a job.
Bingo.
When your eyes open and you say, okay, boss man, we could bring in this new technology. I've already done some research on it. Here's how it could help. Now I'm the one teaching you as the dealership owner that, you know what? I don't have to work less, but I can get 10 times the amount done by using these tools.
And I don't consider what you're saying pushback. I consider it actually going hand in hand with what I'm looking at, which is you've got to find a way to deliver value, right? If you're a human and you're employed somewhere, if I work for Mike Ashie, and I know AI can do what my current job is, I need to be proactive and go, ooh, here's a tool to make my job do more for Mike without, Mike can make this little investment in this, and I can get you this better outcome. And then it may bode positively for me. And Mike Ashie goes, dude, not only have you upped your production 5X, but because of that, I'm going to give you a raise. And it also then makes Mike not need to go hire person 2 and person 3 for those other things.
Exactly.
But you hit it on the head. The people that aren't able to bring value and aren't adding and aren't moving forward, they're going to be phased out. And unfortunately, there are just some positions where that's probably got to happen if a business is going to grow, right? Like you can't take here a great example, right? Mike Phillips is a smart guy and he can learn to code a website. He could do it. It would take him 10 times longer than maybe the developers that they've hired, though, right? But he could do it. And he could say, well, this is being smart with my money because I'm doing it and I don't have to pay 10 grand a month for somebody else. But now Mike's taken out of the game for the thing he's great at that's adding 30 grand a month to his company's revenue, right? And so that's what we have to look at is like weighing out the effectiveness, right? Like is having Karen sitting at the desk answering phones the most efficient deal for Karen? No. Do I have another thing I could have her do that would help our company grow? And then I could put an IVR system in? Yes. Do I have something for her to do? No. And is it still smart to put an IVR system in and say goodbye to Karen? Yes. Sometimes it's a hard answer. And so here's the thing. My heart, because I'm a guy who loves people, is you always look for a way, how can I help somebody move into a different role? But I learned something a long time ago about doing that, and that is that most people won't move. My own son, he's amazing. My oldest son, I love him, man. He's an awesome dude. He was doing all of our video way back when we did Spanish Automotive Classified site. So he was cutting and editing and doing all that. And man, he did a great job. Mm-hmm. Well, we needed salespeople. We didn't need video editing. And now being a sales guy, I'm like, this is a step up for you anyway, kid. You're about to triple your money, right? Like, let's go. So I was like, I'm going to move you into the sales role. So I moved him into it. 2 years later, man, he hated me. And when we parted ways, we had a conversation. And I was like, dude, like, we were talking, and he goes, the hardest part is that you were coming down on me for feeling so negative in this sales role. And he goes, I never wanted it. I'm not wired for it. And I was like, whoa, Father of the Year award in the toilet. Here I was thinking like, man, I'm moving you into something that's going to change your life in a positive way. And to him, I forget, like, as salespeople, we're getting our teeth kicked in every day, especially when you're calling car dealers. And so I took my son from an environment of peace and editing and artistic creativity and put him in an environment of constant abuse and getting punched in the face. So just because a company has a need and because we want to keep people, sometimes the most loving thing we can do to a person is say, I love you. I don't have a place for you here anymore. Here's 30 days to find something else. But I got to say bye, right? Because I got to keep the company running and making money. And if I move you into another role, you're going to hate me. I think that's where intelligent leadership comes in, right? Yep. Good leaders know their people and they ask the right questions. And
well, let me jump in here on a couple of things, because I want to go back to something Mike Ashie said a few minutes ago, and where he was saying, what's the next AI? But then in that same sentence, at that same time, what I picked up on was, because sort of the frame of the question is, okay, well, what should you be doing as a leader, as a business person, to get ready for the next thing? Because, and both of you touched on this, like, you got to be innovative. Mike, Ashie, you brought up and specifically said, hey, you got to be open-minded and willing to learn. And that goes back to like your investors, is I think that, some people just are not ready for it when we're talking about AI. And speaking frankly, I'm a people connected person. Both of you know me. And that is one of those things that it's like, man, I value people over the machines. But I think both of you are saying, and Matt, you've said this a lot. Yeah, but the people have to add value, right? Yeah. You can value people, but you got to have people that add value. The other thing that came up quite a bit was, how to be efficient and effective. Well, I think those are ever present points in business. Yep. That's always going to be a question. And so even going back to what's the next AI? Well, yeah. Does it make us more efficient? Does it make us more effective? And then sort of the last thing on this last little piece there. And I agree with Mike. I agree with both of you, because like Matt, you're saying, hey, it's not really pushback. I think that both of you are absolutely right, that for people to be the most successful, one of the things that we have to break is the employee mentality from the last 100 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is the value that's being added? And then just this last little tidbit, I know I'm bouncing around a little bit, but what I took from that last little piece of the conversation is sometimes you definitely have the right person, but as leaders, we try and force them into the wrong seat because it's a seat we need to fill. So we go, well, I need to fill the seat. So let me put you in there because I want to keep you as the individual. When sometimes the best leaders will realize that, okay, maybe I can fill the seat with an AI tool. Maybe I can do more editing, because like when you brought up, Matt, the website piece, and Mike, Ashie, you're heavily involved in this software that does all this editing. And I've even given you pushback on it. I'm like, no, it's not there. It's not ready. Won't do the coolest stuff. Can't do what Mike Phillips can do. Right. But you have to have an open mind. Like, can it get you 80%, 75, 80% of the way there for what you could do? And if it could, then allow yourself to be open to take not just yourself, but your company and the people that you are taking with you to the next level. How can you expand their horizons? That's what I'm hearing you both say.
And one thing, it's not easy. It's not an easy pill to swallow, but sometimes losing your job is the biggest blessing. That is an absolute fact for me. 5 years ago, I believe I have a knowledge set. I believe I am better than the job I was doing. Not the people, but just the job. It was a job. I got let go because of COVID, and I never went back. I leaned into my skill set, which is helping, just being real about leadership, being real about what can be expected as a manager, what you're going to deal with, which led to an opportunity for me being in the C-suite of an AI company. None of that happens if I did not get absolutely booted in the teeth and losing a job. Going through that fear, going through that scary time, I don't sit here on this conversation if that didn't happen. So I'm not saying that everybody should be excited that they're going to lose their job because of AI. No, but learn to bring value. That could be learning different ways to use certain products, certain technologies, or once you're done crying and you pick yourself up, really look for the opportunity to do something that means more to you. Even if it doesn't pay off immediately, the returns, in my experience, they're just phenomenal.
No, absolutely. And I love that point. I think we get so wrapped up in, and especially somebody that could be tuning into this show or this podcast late and says, "Whoa, oh my gosh, these guys are talking about AI taking over the world. They're taking over this, they're taking over that." My stance is, and it will be, there is no replacement for genuine human caring.
Oh, fair.
And so,
100%.
so there's a lot of automated tasks AI can do. There's a lot of things that you can do to make someone more efficient. But at some point, you're yes, it's important to learn about AI. Yes, it's important to be engaged with it. Yes, it's important to know what's coming next on the horizon, but it is also very important still for people that are in leadership roles, because this is a leadership podcast, that you still have to develop that human capital. You still have to develop the good in them. You still have to find the characteristics that you need out of the people and be able to engage in real relationships with those folks, because sometimes you're going to have to ask somebody to do something that's out of their comfort zone. It's going to be not in their wheelhouse or not in their seat. And the only way that you have the clout to do that is if you have a real genuine relationship with that person to say, "Hey, Matt's been saying Karen the receptionist, so we'll just go with it. Hey, Karen the receptionist, I need you to do this thing that's not exactly in your wheelhouse. And here's why." Well, if you don't have an elevated relationship with Karen, that you know who she is and her hopes and dreams, and she knows that you actually care about her, it's easier for her to lock her legs and say, "No, I'm not going to do that. It's not my job description." And then that's one of the things that leads to people exploring other avenues and so forth. And that's rampant. As I'm pontificating here, that is a rampant thing that drives me absolutely insane about some of these people on TikTok that, "Oh no, that's not in my wheelhouse. Oh no, it's not in that." Mike, you got invited on Dr. Phil because of stuff like that. Like these employees go on to onto TikTok and on these places and talk about how valuable their time is and so forth. And it's like, no, dude, you have to, like, are you making yourself more valuable? And quite frankly, I'm going to send a message, and all of this is going to be very unpopular to the next generation, or to the this will be unpopular to the people that subscribe to that mentality on TikTok, that it's, nope, it's 501, I'm out, I'm not going to do any extra, I'm not going to participate and do that and so forth. Sometimes that's what's going to take you to the next level, is you put in an extra 10 minutes. Why? Because the person that's at the lead cares about you, you care about them, you care about the job, you care about doing a good job and providing something that is valuable to them. And those are the things that get noticed. Matt, you've got something to add.
Yeah, there's something though that since we're saying things that'll make us unpopular, here's something that I believe gets ignored, and that is this: most leaders don't care, and most of their staff, when they try to care, it gets shot down by the leader. And let me explain what I mean by that. If you run a business, you have to put the customer first, right? I wrote a book, the only book that was a #1 on Amazon ever that I wrote. My book Sell, right? It was just serve, evangelize, listen, love. And the whole principle and premise of it is this. You've got to, your customer, your focus must be, I exist to serve them. What they want is my #1 priority. That's it, regardless of what I want. Now, of course, you have to run a business. Of course, you have to make a profit, right? So anyone listening, don't get stupid and think, well, if the customer says, give me everything for free, do you give it to them? No, don't be a dummy. But here's the thing. We need to serve the customer. That's got to be the best priority. And the truth is, if we serve them the best and we're reasonable with our pricing, we win. But the problem is this, and I see it on a weekly basis. I see sales professionals saying, that they want to do things in the process that make it more comfortable for a customer, but a business doesn't want to change because they like their process and it's comfortable for them. And so to be a good leader, our #1 priority in a business, if we're a good leader, our #1 priority has to be, how do I best serve the customer that wants to do business with me? If that means having a human there, because Mike, you said nothing can replace right? Like a caring human. And that's true as long as the caring human also has the skills to do their job well. I can hire some really empathetic, delightful human beings in my business that can't do the job well. They can love well, but they can't serve well because they don't know how to do the tasks that are needed, right? So really honestly, if a business wants to show that they care, the first thing they have to ask is, what is the best way to serve my customer? If the best way is, I need multiple humans. And by the way, when people hear me saying replace human, I'm not saying replace all human jobs. Like in a dealership, Mike and I were having this conversation earlier. We have an AI BDC. It is a tool. And it isn't to replace the salespeople. What it is to, when I talk to dealers and it's like, where do your salespeople, what do they do best? Well, when they're face-to-face and on the phone, having a conversation, that's where they're strongest, when they can have a dialogue with a human. And I'm like, okay, then what if we free up all of their time so that's all they do? And we take this AI tool and it does all of this stuff that your salespeople just aren't getting good at, no matter how hard you try it. So it's, when we talk about making a pivot, I'm not even moving them out of a role. I'm just saying, let's get people to focus on what they're good at. If I'm a good leader, and I actually care, then why do I keep trying to teach Billy how to freaking respond to DMs and text messages when the kid sucks at it and he's scared of it and he can't spell? He couldn't win a 5th grade spelling bee and he's 42 years old. Like, Billy doesn't need to be replying to people with anything that has to do with spelling. But when Billy talks to somebody, people fall in love with him. You know what I need to do? Make sure Billy's free to answer the phone all the time. Make sure that Billy is free to serve people when they walk in my store all the time, and get him as far away from a keyboard as possible, because it's costing me business. And if it's costing me business, it's costing Billy business, because nobody's coming in to meet Billy because Billy can't spell hello, right? So when we talk about this, if we care, sometimes we have to realize I have to remove people from certain things because I care about them. And they're actually hurting themselves and the business, right? So when it comes to caring, sometimes caring is saying, I'm taking you out of this situation because this situation is actually doing damage to everything to do with the business. And if the business is hurting, I can't give you a Christmas bonus. If the business is hurting, I can't afford to give free loaner cars and service anymore. So if I care, I have to make serving the customer priority 1. And then it leads to the next question. How do I do that? Well, then I go with the staff.
So let me
how do I
pause you right
equip
there.
them? Yeah.
So let me pause you right there, because I think it's what you're saying is really, really good. But I'm curious, Mike, what is your take on that, on what Matt's just sharing, where he's saying, hey, we're looking at the customer first and so forth. What's your response, or what's your thought on that piece?
I agree. You got to look at the customer first, but as a leader, my customer is my team. I need to be able to serve my team so they can serve the customer. And if we're going back to the TikTok era of I'm punching out now because it's 5 o'clock and 1 second.
5:01.
I can appreciate that. To be honest with you, I can appreciate that in some places, because there is a horrible, toxic place to work. But if you're an individual and you are looking forward to your future, you need to get off of that thought process of I'm only given what I'm paid for. Again, I have to use myself as an example because I didn't see this when I was younger. I didn't go for promotions at the airport because it was horrible management. Why would I want to be part of that team? So I gave up
Interesting take.
opportunities because I was also buddies with other employees and like, F the man and no, I'm done. Talk to my union. I shot myself in the foot where I had to apply for a management job later in life 7 times and get turned down each and every one. So how did that turn out for me? Not so good, right? Now I'm working with One Click. And before I was even part of the team, I was giving my time. I was giving my thoughts because they were doing something that I was passionate about. And now it's turned into something absolutely marvelous that I could not have scripted. So you have to understand, if you think you want to get anything out of life, you have to make sure that you're willing to give something. Even if you may not particularly like that supervisor you're dealing with or the workplace that you're in, don't look at it as what you're getting. Try to give more. Try to stand out without being like, oh, look at me kind of person, but do better and you're going to get better. That's my thought.
Can I push back a little on something that you said, Mike?
Fill your boots.
Which Mike? I got pushed back for both of you if you want.
I don't know that it's even necessarily a pushback, but you had said something earlier. You said, as a leader, my customer is my people, right? But then you followed it with, so that they can serve the customer, right?
Correct.
So ultimately, though, as a leader, I actually have 2 customers. I have my people who are mine, and then I have the end user. And let me give you an example of what I mean by that, because I actually agree with you there. And so that goes back to what I said earlier with a lot of times leadership is the problem because my salesperson wants to serve the customer well, but I don't want to change the way I want them to interact with the customer. So I become the problem, right?
Yep.
So with that I know we're calling it the TikTok generation mindset, but there's 2 things that you said that I think it's valuable, but if not looked at the right way, people can abuse it. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. I agree with you that if I want to excel in my career, I need to step outside of where I'm at now. Alex Ramosi talks about stuff, right? When you're new to something, he's like, give it away for free because you're getting the learning experience of making your stuff work, right? So you got to be willing to do it so you can learn so that you can then charge the moon for it, right? But there's a difference between me going, I want to get better, so I'm going to give of me, and a manager, owner, I won't call them a leader if they make these type of decisions because they're an idiot, saying you should be willing to work the extra hours so you could advance your career. No. What you're saying to me is I should do free stuff for you because you don't want to pay someone because you're too tight. The biggest abuse of this, and Mike, this will resonate with you in Colorado with snow. For 30 years, the thing that chapped my butt more than anything was 2 things automotive dealers always do. Winter comes and they say, we're having a lot party. And they're out there brooming cars. You've got commission salespeople. The only way they make a living is commission. And now you want them to all go get a freaking foam snow rake and spend an hour getting sick and cold to move snow off your cars because you don't want to spend $12 an hour for a crew to come in and do it. That's an abuse of management. You're a freaking moron and you're an idiot who doesn't know how to run his business well because you're pissing money away. When instead, if you hired a crew to do it, you could stand over your team and go, I've hired a crew to do it. You better be on the phone making calls to drive business in because I don't have you wearing snowsuits, right? You're not hourly, you're commission. Put in the work. If you're not going to put in the work, I'll put someone in the desk that will. End of discussion. And then the other thing is doing it in the summer. Hey guys, we're going to rearrange the lot together because you're too lazy to hire a couple college kids to do it or you're too cheap, right? So that type of decision making to me is the same type as when a manager gets mad. They're like, oh man, these people want to punch out at 5 o'clock. Well, who made their schedule? You made a schedule that says 9 to 5. At 5, I'm leaving. And if you're mad that I won't stay till 5:10 because Susie's running behind, Have a talk with Susie about showing up on time. Don't hold me accountable to stay over because you don't lead Susie well. That's you. You suck as a leader. I was told I work 9 to 5 and I have a family and they matter more than you. So I'm going to go give them the time that I'm working to pay for. So I think there's this toxic mentality.
Well, there's a fine line. I think that
I don't think it's as fine as we say, though, dude. That's kind of like people going, whose name's on the dealership so you can treat people how you want. It's like, well, if your name's on the dealership and you don't treat me well, guess who just lost somebody that can generate millions for them? You did.
Sure. The reason I say I think there's a fine line is I think for one, prior to, the last recent years, call it 10, 15, 20 years, most of the time there's not good leadership training. There hasn't been previously. There was good staff training. And then in the, probably 90s, there became good management training, right? We'll know how to manage things, but they didn't teach people how to lead people. You had people that learned that, but they learned it through attrition, right? And so and the reason I say the last probably 20 years, the way that I see it, or from where I sit, is because you have the internet, you have, programs like this, you have things like Mike's channel and Matt going into stores and training and so forth. And so I think, there's a lot to be said about to me, when I say it's a fine line, it's tough to say, well, most leaders don't care. And the reason I say that, or that was said, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think most leaders don't know. And when they don't know, it's easy to fall into the place of, well, this is what I saw the last guy or the last gal do, and so that's how I'm going to operate because that must be how leaders do things. And that it's bullshit. Like that takes out the innovation and stuff. So, and
what accountability do you think that a leader has, though? Because we can only say we don't know for so long, right? And so at some point, your don't know turns into don't care enough to want to know.
Well, but I think I'll answer this, and then we're coming right down the pipe too, because we got a hard stop today. So I'll get each of you on some final thoughts, but I will answer that question. What accountability does the leader have to not know? I think one of the struggles is oftentimes just the way that people have been trained through osmosis. People don't speak and give feedback to their leaders to tell them what is good or bad. So I think oftentimes they do continue to not know because the people on the front lines, either they also don't know that it's okay to give feedback, or they're scared to for fear of what's going to happen if I do this. So as we're coming to the end here, I'll give each of you a 1-minute wrap up, and then I'll take us out. I'm going to start with you, Mike Ashie. What's any final thoughts from today's show? We've been all over the place. We could go on for 4 hours.
I'm trying to squirrel that all up. Final thoughts. I understand if you're in an employee position, understand that one, your manager probably hasn't had training, as we just said. There's a good chance. Don't let that hinder your own growth. In terms of growing as an employee, as a manager, as a leader, don't be afraid of new things. This includes the use of AI, but any tool that you can find that helps you and helps your team grow, take hold and use it to its full potential. Don't be afraid of something new.
That's a good message. Don't be afraid of something new. And Matt, going to you, sir, about 1-minute wrap up, some final thoughts.
Yeah. Here's what I would just say. Mike spoke to the employee and I'll speak to the employer. I agree. You need to put your people first. So care enough about them to interview them well and see if there's someone that can grow with your company in the first place. As it relates to artificial intelligence, because that's what Mike had kicked this show off with, I just want to encourage you to remember this. There are opportunities out there to do something. The worst thing you could possibly do is sit back and do nothing. So take a risk, learn something new to make your business more efficient and more effective. And something Grant Cardone said to me a long time ago, and I've never forgotten it. He said this: a good leader takes responsibility for everything. So if you're not getting the results you want, or you don't have the right team in place, if you're not looking in the mirror and saying it's my fault, that's the first step.
Phenomenal. Thank you guys. But both of you gentlemen, thank you so much for taking your time, joining me and sharing your wisdom today. I appreciate you both very much.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely. And I'm going to go ahead and take us out here. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to bring us to a close to another episode here of the Leadership Toolkit. Thank you for taking the time to tune in and join me today. Again, make sure you check out both of these gentlemen. They both offer absolutely fantastic software. They're both great leaders. They're both great people. And so you can check out Matt's website, rockstarinfo.com. And then Mike's website, you can go to OneClick. It's .io, ONECLIQ.io. And check out that both of their software programs. I'll also have the information in the show notes. Again, if you know somebody, if you are an employer, an employee, you go, man, this person could really stand to hear this, please do me a favor, share the show, throw a thumbs up on it. Tune in with me every single Wednesday because we have great conversations, collaborative conversations like this. And the whole goal is just to teach leaders, teach managers, teach business to help move to the next level. So I thank you all very much for taking the time to tune in and join me today. Until I speak to you next week, be great. We'll talk to you soon, everybody.